Did anyone have hurricane earthquake on their 2023 summer bingo card? Because I sure didn't. The good news is we are all fine here. I know there was some flooding in the Los Angeles area, but luckily where we are, we just had a nice gentle rain and then a nice gentle rumble in the afternoon. So we're all fine. But thanks for everyone who reached out. We have a lot to get through today, so I will see you on the other side. Welcome everyone to episode 27 of Gary Knits, Gary Rides, a Craftivism podcast at the intersection of making things and doing good. My name's Gary. I am a knitter and a crocheter. I'm also a cyclist with AIDS Lifecycle, an annual 545-mile, 7-day bike ride from San Francisco to Los Angeles, raising money for the life-saving work of the San Francisco AIDS Foundation and the Los Angeles LGBT Center. You can find me on Instagram as Gary Knits, Gary Rides, and on Ravelry at Gary Knits and Rides. This is my 6th year doing AIDS Lifecycle. I have a long-term goal of raising $200,000. I'm hoping to hit that this year. And as part of my fundraising for the past several years, I have done a series of Knitalongs and Crochetalongs, which we'll talk about here in a minute, as well as an occasional fiber auction on Instagram called D-Stash for Good, one of which is running right now, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit as well. I hope everyone is well. If you were in the path of hurricane/tropical storm Hillary, I hope you survived it without too much flooding or damage. As I mentioned, we just had a gentle rain all day. It kind of moved inland east of us and then went north. I know out in the desert there was some flooding and some downed trees and things like that, but for us it was just a unusual summer day of rain. So, and then we had the little earthquake. It was little, or it felt little by us. I'm sure if you were closer to it in Ojai, it felt a little stronger. But that's always exciting when that happens. I think it's my second or third time since I've lived out in California that that it's happened. Luckily, it's never been anything serious, but it always sort of just kind of catches you off guard a little bit when it happens. Otherwise, it's been an incredibly busy past couple of weeks. I'm filming this a little bit earlier than usual. We have a friend of ours from Florence who is visiting us, so my husband and he went down to the city today to go check out some museums, so I decided to take an opportunity, since I'm going to be acting as tour guide over the next couple days for him, to go ahead and film this today, and I will try to get this out on my usual schedule, so hopefully you're seeing this sometime on Friday. But as I said, it has been pretty busy. The D-Stash auction is going on. We are about to kick off the Season 3 kickoff for the End AIDS Knitalongs and Crochetalongs, and so all of that stuff is happening as well. I guess while I'm on the Knitalongs and Crochetalongs, they will kick off on September 1st and run through October 31st. I'm not going to go through all of the details on all of the projects here, but here is a bonus episode of the podcast where I walked through all of the various projects. We are still waiting on 2 of the patterns to be released. Today is the 22nd, so I think on the 25th, the next pattern will be released. Those will be the Stars Align hat and Star Riders mittens from Melissa K Designs. And then right before we kick off on the 1st, I believe on the 31st, Cerulean Orchid will be releasing her Rainbow Eucalyptus hat and mitt set for the Crochetalong. So there's still a couple things to be released. Just day before yesterday, the Embracing Our Nature sock pattern was released by Samba Knits. It's available on Ravelry and Payhip, and she is doing a very generous discount through the end of the month. You can pick up that pattern for $1.95. So I think that's probably like $6 off the regular pattern price, which is fantastic. So grab your patterns, grab a ticket from my coffee page. to get entered into the Knitalong Crochetalong to make sure you're eligible for the prizes. Grab some yarn, and hopefully you can join us on the 1st of September for the kickoff. As I mentioned, the first D-Stash auction of this AIDS Lifecycle fundraising season is underway. We're entering the final stretch, so we're kind of at this lull in the bidding activity over there at D-Stash for Good. Here's the Instagram account. So you get this flurry of activity when everything goes live, and then things kind of like lull in the middle, and then people sort of run in at the last minute to try to like check back in on the things that they're bidding on and try to secure their position if there's something that they really want. So as I think I mentioned last time, there are 292 items over there up for auction. Most of it's yarn, but there are some books and some notions and things like that as well, across all yarn weight categories, so from lace all the way up to super chunky. Obviously, or maybe it's not obvious, but the largest section is fingering weight. So we have more fingering weight than we have anything else, and it kind of goes as you probably would expect. So fingering and DK are the biggest, and then sort of sport and worsted, and then super bulky and bulky are kind of have the least things in them. $10,000 plus worth of merchandise at retail, which is, I think, feels like one of the biggest ones we've done. We've definitely had auctions with more items, but this one has a lot of multi-skein lots, so like almost sweaters quantities worth of yarn in some cases, and so that makes the the overall dollar value go up. So it's about, I think, $10,500 worth of merchandise. Currently trading, so I went through it just before I jumped on here and updated my spreadsheet with all the prices. Currently trading at just about a 60% discount to retail. So that's pretty high. So that means there's some great bargains right now. I will say that based on past experience, that's going to drop pretty quickly here over the next 4 days. The auction is going to run through the 28th at 5 p.m. Pacific time. We've done about 5 of these over the last year, and I would say that at the end of the day, when the dust settles on everything, the average discount to retail value is usually somewhere in the 30 to 40%. So things are currently trading at just under 60%. So there's pretty good room to run. Based on that, we've raised currently just about $3,300 because the donation amounts for each item are different. Some are 100%, some are 50%, some are something in between. So that's why that $3,200 doesn't match up with about $4,100 of what the value is of current trading. So I would expect that we're going to get, if things go according to the past track record, that we'll probably get closer to $4,500, $5,000 in fundraising for this first auction, which is fantastic. I will hopefully be able to do 4, maybe 5 more of these between now and next June, so that I can try to bridge the gap between my last year's fundraising, which was $51,000, to what I need to raise to hit my $200,000 goal, which is $58,000 this year. So the D-Stash auction is ongoing. Head over there if you haven't checked it out yet. If you are watching items, may the odds be ever in your favor in terms of winning what you have your eyes on. There are still a bunch of items, more than usual, that have no bids, and a lot of those have no minimum bid, so you could actually pick up like a skein of indie dyed yarn for like $1 at this point. So go over and check it out, and hopefully you can find something that you love. In terms of the other thing that I have been working on that I want to talk about before we get into the actual knitting and acquisitions and all that stuff, I have teased this a couple of times, but I'm ready now to announce it and get it out there. As part of, so the Knitalongs and the Crochetalongs for the season kickoff for season 3 are all accessories, as you're probably aware of. So it's hats and mitts and cowls, and my decision to do that was twofold. One, I know there are a lot of big project make-alongs in the fall, so Ho-He does hers, Stephen West will do the Mystery Knitalong, and people are working on Rhinebecks, but there's a lot of big projects that people work on at this time of year, and I thought it would be nice to have some smaller projects to work on, but I also wanted to tie that in to an accessories drive for Knit the Rainbow that is going to run from September 1st, so when we kick off for the Knitalongs and Crochetalongs, and I'm going to run that through December 15th. So we'll get it all wrapped up right before the holidays. And if you aren't familiar with Knit the Rainbow, just quickly, they are an organization that gathers and then distributes hand knit, hand crocheted items for LGBTQ plus homeless youth. Started out in 2020. In New York, they've expanded into Chicago, and this year they're expanding into Detroit. They team up with local agencies on the ground that serve those communities to distribute the items, and they also team up with a network of local yarn stores around the country as drop-off points for donations of handmade items. You can also mail them directly to Knit the Rainbow. So that's the gist of what they do. Next episode, fingers crossed, I think we're going to work it out. I'm going to have a sit down with Austin Rivers, who is the founder and CEO of Knit the Rainbow. And we're going to talk about how he started the organization, just kind of the progression, the growth that they've seen, and maybe some helpful hints in terms of when you're thinking about making items for them, what you should be thinking about. So we're going to be, in conjunction with the Knitalongs and Crochetalongs, running an accessories drive to try to get as many items made and then donated to Knit the Rainbow over the next September, October, November, 3.5 months or so. And there's going to be fun, there's going to be giveaways, and there's going to be prizes. And the way that it's going to work, and I'm going to link here to a document that you can take a look at that will explain all of this in case my explanation either doesn't make sense or you don't want to have to rewind and figure it out again. I should also mention that everything I talk about is going to be linked in the show notes down below. And while we're doing QR codes, here's another one for a link to the show notes if you're watching this on your television and want to just scan that instead of having to go to a device to bring it up. So anyway, the accessories drive for Knit the Rainbow. It's going to be based, the giveaways and the prizes are going to be based on a point system. Essentially, the more valuable something is for Knit the Rainbow, the more points it gets. So socks and mittens and full-fingered gloves are things that they need the most of. They, I think, are always happy to get whatever you are willing to donate, but in terms of demand from kids living on the street, those are the most coveted sort of items to have. So those items will get more points in the scoring system. So the way that it's going to work is hats and neck warmer style cowls, so not long ones that are basically infinity scarves, but the shorter ones. Fingerless mitts and ear warmers, those are all worth a point. And then scarves and scarf-like cowls are worth 2. Full-fingered gloves, socks, and full mittens are worth 4 points. And then if someone is going to knit a sweater or a cardigan, that will be worth 10 points. I've put together, and this is linked to the thing I showed before. It's also going to be linked in my bio. Put together a tally sheet that will allow you to keep track of everything that you've made. And there are going to be bonus points awarded if you make one of the patterns that we have for the fall Knitalong and the Crochetalong. So there's hats and gloves and socks in that, and cowls. So you get a bonus point per item, regardless of the point value of the item, for making something from one of the patterns. Then if you use the yarn that was sold as kits for the Knitalongs and the Crochetalongs, you will double whatever the points that you have for that item. So, for example, if you took your favorite hat pattern and you knit it, but you used the Hope colorway from Porter Wool Co., which was the yarn that was dyed for the sock pattern, but if you use that to make a hat and then donate that to Knit the Rainbow, you get 1 point for it being a hat, but you get to double that because you used the yarn from the Knitalong and the Crochetalong. Conversely, or alternatively, if you took that Hope yarn from Portable Wool Co. I used it to make the socks, the Embracing Our Nature socks from Samba Knits, and then donated those socks to Knit the Rainbow. That's 4 points for a pair of socks, plus 1 because it's a pattern, so that's 5, and then double that because you use the yarn, so that's 10 points. So I hope you kind of get the idea. It's all going to be kind of on the honor system, but at the end of the event, when I ask people to submit their point totals via a Google form, there will be a little checking that goes on just to make sure that, you know, the top 2 or 3 people are, you know, have made what they said they made, and we'll take pictures and all that stuff. So all the instructions are in this document I linked to in the QR code before, also linked down below in the show notes. If any of this is confusing or you have any questions about it, please either put something in the comments down below, shoot me an email at GaryKnitsGaryRides@gmail.com, and I'm happy to sort of walk you through it. You do not have to use this particular tally sheet if you understand the scoring system and you just want to keep it on your own, as long as you're keeping track of it. And then at the end of the day, document everything with a photo in terms of like all the things that you've made. You're going to be fine. There's going to be prizes then based on those points, both raffles. So each point gets you a raffle entry into the raffle, and then each point gets counted towards your point total words. And the top 2 or 3, I haven't decided yet. It kind of depends on what giveaway prizes I can scrounge up. The top 2 or 3 people are going to get giveaway prizes. Then there's going to be raffles for some other giveaway prizes. And then randomly, not related to points at all, if you tag on Instagram or in our Ravelry group, I will put up a thread for that. If you tag one of your makes with the hashtag Gary Knits the Rainbow 23, then just randomly throughout the event, so it's 2.5 months, so I don't know, every couple weeks or so, I will randomly pick a post and do a little giveaway for those as well. So I hope it's a lot of fun. I hope we are able to get a bunch of things donated by mid-December to Knit the Rainbow, and hope we can just spread the word about this fantastic organization. They're near and dear to my heart, and I think they're doing amazing work, and I've just been really thrilled to see them continue to grow. I should mention that I highly encourage you to double, triple, quadruple dip with this make-along accessories drive and any other ones that are going around that apply. So I know that someone has mentioned that Not Quite Enough Yarn, who's a YouTuber here based, I think, in the UK. She's running a make-along around making things for other people, which seems like this would apply since it's a charity donation. So if you want to double dip into that. If you are going to Indie Untangled, you should have gotten an email about this, but if you're not on the mailing list, they're doing a special bunch of giveaways to celebrate, I think it's the 10th anniversary of Indie Untangled, one of which is tied to Knit the Rainbow. So if you bring an item to donate to Knit the Rainbow and it's made from yarn from someone who's ever been a vendor at Indie Untangled, and there's a list of those vendors that I'll link to down below. If you make something with yarn from one of those vendors and bring it to the Knit the Rainbow booth at Indie Untangled, you get entered into a giveaway that they're running. So I highly encourage you to use this accessories drive to play in as many Knitalongs and Make-alongs and Crochetalongs as you possibly can, and just have a lot of fun with it, and we can do some good along the way. So I'm really excited about this. I'm really excited to sit down with Austin next week and introduce all of you to him if you've never met him. They just announced that they are going to have their 2nd annual Pearl Awards in November. So that was a great event last year, so hopefully you all can tune in to that. They do raffles and giveaways and some really interesting people that they award in the community that have been singled out for contributions to the both the LGBTQ community and the knitting community as well. So really fun event. I think that's it on the accessories drive. Again, any questions, hit me up down in the comments. Speaking of comments, last episode I announced a giveaway. If you stayed tuned to the very end, in the Craftivism section, I mentioned that Desert Panda Fiber Arts had their trailer broken into at the Flock Festival, lost a bunch of merchandise and supplies, and it was just a real kind of cruddy end to what had been a fantastic event up until that point. And the folks at Flock at La Mercerie were doing, at the event, had done a raffle and were giving some of the proceeds to Kristen at Desert Panda Fiber Arts. And I thought it would be great to give someone a $50 gift certificate for Desert Panda Fiber Arts, so she was able to get the money kind of up front, and then as she's able to rebuild her inventory, someone can go and do some shopping. So the winner of that giveaway was Wendy Morris. So Wendy, if you are watching this and seeing this, please shoot me an email at garyknitsgaryrides@gmail.com or reach out to me on Instagram, and we will figure out a way to get you your $50 gift certificate to Desert Panda Fiber Arts. Thank you all for participating in the giveaway. Thank you all to anyone who then went over to Desert Panda Fiber Arts and did some shopping and helped her rebuild her business a little bit from that really kind of annoying event. That is it, I think, for all of the administrative event-related things. No giveaway this episode. We did a lot of giving away over the last couple months or a couple weeks. We gave away a lot of the kits for the Knitalongs and Crochetalongs, so all of those should be out, except for those of you who are waiting for patterns to be released, who want a kit and the patterns still haven't been released yet. So those will be forthcoming very shortly. In terms of making, last episode I said I had an FO that I had forgotten to bring into the room, and I posted it up on Instagram, but here it is. This is my Pop-Tart shawl by Tammy Gore, is the designer. The main color here is a one-of-a-kind skein called Shark Boy from Carol & Dick Designs. And then, because I was running into a little yarn chicken situation and I knew I wasn't going to be able to finish the last garter section and the picot bind off, I grabbed this skein of Blueberry from Ken Yarn and made that into a border. And so this is headed to Italy. Our friend who's visiting from Florence is going to take this back with him to give to another friend of ours as a thank you gift. She treated us to a lovely dinner in her restaurant when we were in Florence about a year ago this time. So I really enjoyed the project. Really fun, quick, easy, single skein project. The skein of the main color here was just a little shorter than your typical fingering weight skein, so that's why I had the yarn chicken situation. But a really great, fast, quick, gift type of project. Yeah, it was fun. I like the way it turned out. So that is Pop-Tart by Tammy Gore. If you tuned in to my live on Instagram, I guess it was a week ago or so, I showed this off, but it wasn't quite finished, I think, when I filmed my last YouTube. And it's not, as Jasmine Knitmore says, finished, because I haven't woven in the ends or blocked it or taken photos. I have taken photos of it, but not in a finished state. But this is the Palm Springs Cowl by Casey Knits. It's a sport weight project. It's made in 2 colors of Trilogy yarn. So this is one of our Knitalong projects for the fall Knitalong. Nancy at Trilogy Yarns dyed up kits in Eggplant and Sand Dune. So Eggplant is the contrast color here, Sand Dune is the main color. I've talked about this before. I will talk about it again because it was such a fun project. This was my first ever attempt at stranded color work. I'm pretty happy. I mean, obviously I haven't blocked it yet, so maybe some of this unevenness will work itself out. But regardless of amateurish tension, I was really happy with how much fun I had with doing it. I really had, I think, put off stranded color work because I was afraid I was not going to enjoy it or to get it, or it would be difficult, but it was really fun. And this is a perfect pattern to learn stranded color work, because no floats to catch, and every other row is a straight knitting row. So you get a break from the mind counting and all of that stuff and working with 2 fingers and 2 yarns, and every other row you get to take a break and just knit around. So highly recommend. You get 2 of these. If you have 2 skeins of sport weight yarn, you will be able to make 2 of these. So you'll be able to make it this way, and then the reverse with the eggplant as the main color and the sand dune as the contrast. If you pop over to Nancy's Instagram feed, you can see the reverse of this. She's actually done it both ways. She did the sample, and I was like, oh, I'll do the other one. And of course, because it's my first time, it took me way longer. But she has it both ways. And again, highly recommend this this project. I think you probably missed it at this point, but Casey was running a fantastic sale on her patterns on Ravelry. I think she was giving everyone 40% off of everything. But Casey has a new shawlette pattern. I think it's called Lost Horses, which she was making in conjunction with Jimmy Bean's Wool, who has a new yarn line out. I think it's called Yarn Citizen, and it's made from like mill ends and things like that they are able to, you know, pick up and remake into another yarn. Very reasonably priced. I think it's like $10 a skein, and they put a group of designers together to make projects to help launch this new yarn, and that was one of them. So go check that out. But I think you've probably missed her big sale on the patterns. So that's the Palm Springs cowl. Really fun project. I think a lot of people are excited to start working on that for the Knitalong and the Crochetalong. And so that's it for FOs for me. I've got a couple of whips that I can show. One whip that has now gone into the on hold, just because I'm frantically working on these 2 things heading into a month or so before Rhinebeck. The first is, I showed this before, living in my yarn and whiskey little zipper bag. I don't think I had this maybe last time to show, but this is the Knit Chat Cowl by Chit Chat Knits. Carrie over at Creative Obsession was doing a make-along, or is still doing a make-along through, I think, 31st of July or August. For this, it uses self-striping yarn. I am using a Zauberball Crazy in a color that's some number. And the idea behind this was I had a shawl that I was hoping to make for Rhinebeck. It is unlikely that is going to get started or done, and so I thought this might be a nice alternative to have as something to wear at Rhinebeck. And I was really interested in patterns that use self-striping yarn that are not socks, and so I thought it would be a fun way to play around with that. This is coming out a little darker than I expected. I just based on the way the outside of the ball looked, I thought it was going to be more blue. These are still right up my alley in terms of colors, and it's kind of hard to. It's much the pictures in the pattern. It's much drapier looking, and I think that's partly it's just because I have this on a small, still kept it on a small needle. They said in the pattern that you might want to go to a larger needle size, but I just don't feel like finding the tips and switching them out and all that stuff, or finding the cord and switching it out and all that stuff. So I'll just probably continue on this. I'm almost done. I have there are 2 different sections. So there's this eyelet section and then what she calls a ruched section, and I am down to the last couple rows on the last ruched section. I will do one more eyelet section, and then there's a bit of ribbing, and I'm done. So my guess is over the next couple of weeks, this will be wrapped up. I have a couple of trips, bus trips to the Hollywood Bowl, and this is perfect bus transit knitting because it's just around and around and around with a few increases here and there, and some yarn overs when you're in the eyelet section. So it's been a fun project. We'll just have to wait and see how it looks when it's all done. It's a little different shape of a cowl than I'm used to knitting, so it's not like a real net warmer one, but it's also not like the long infinitive. It's kind of infinity scarf. It's kind of in between, and kind of because of the increases, kind of creates this point, sort of kerchief looking. So we'll see. It's Southern California, and so cowls are not something that I tend to wear a lot of around here anyway, although we do get a few weeks in the wintertime where I could probably be seen wearing that. I think that I'm probably more apt to wear shawls, which you can kind of manipulate and kind of move around to cool off if it's a little too warm. But it's been a fun project, and I'm always keen to find things other than socks to do with self-striping sock yarn. I just saw, what was I doing? I was down a rabbit hole this week, sitting here working on this next project, and was watching some Knit Stars masterclasses, and was watching the one with Zandy Peters that Zandy Peters did in this last season, and then that got me down a rabbit hole on their patterns. I took a class with them at the last Stitches West when it was up in Sacramento, and did my swatching and things like that, but then never got around to starting one of their patterns. And I was looking at one of them that does is kind of designed for self-striping sock yarn, and it really kind of piqued my interest. And so I was starting to think of maybe I could try one of those at some point with some of the sock yarn I have, because my sock knitting is very slow, and I've got a lot more yarn than I have time or desire to knit socks constantly with them. So so we'll just see. Stay tuned. It's I added it to the queue, and I wanted to reach out to Zandy. I had a question on the pattern, and so I'll see if they get back to me, and then I'll be able to maybe move forward on that. So as I said, I was down the rabbit hole, sitting here watching YouTube videos and watching this masterclass on the kind of design process. It was all about swatching and things like that. And I was working on living in my chip basket. Was it perfect for this type of project, which moves from one sofa to the next. But I have been working on my Rhinebeck sweater. Now is actually looking like a sweater, and I wanted to spend a little bit of time chatting about this. So this is the Painting Honeycombs sweater by Stephen West Knits. I am doing it in, so it's a DK weight sweater. I'm doing it in Shibui Knits Haven in the colorway Suit, which is this navy blue. And then rather than do a series of different colors for the honeycombs, I chose a single skein of Fully Spun's Rum Punch colorway. So Brooke at Fully Spun, who is winding down her business, at least for the time being, but this was her Rum Punch colorway on her DK weight. And I am very grateful to have Valerie of Creations by Valerie on Instagram. She's a visit with Nana and Papa here on YouTube. If you're not following her, subscribe and follow her. She's a wonderful human being, but she is a really accomplished sweater knitter and has been incredibly helpful to me. I've been nervous about knitting a sweater, not for any real technical reasons, but more because I didn't want to go through the whole process and have come up with a garment that didn't fit me the way that I wanted it to fit me, and I would end up never wearing after I wore it to Rhinebeck once, and may or may not have felt great about it. So we've had a lot of discussions. She also runs our weekly Zoom call, which the link is in the show notes, for the folks who are participating in the Knitalongs and the Crochetalongs, but honestly anybody's welcome. But we've had a lot of conversations, and my concerns mainly around the neckline, because I find a lot of men's hand-knit sweater patterns have these like really sort of stretched out necks that don't fit close to the neck, which is how I would want them to do. And so she's been guiding me through the process of like taking the pattern and kind of tailoring it a little bit more to make sure that I'm going to get the fit that I want. So the first thing we did was we didn't do the ribbing in the neck at the beginning. We did a provisional cast on, did the short rows in the back as per the pattern, did all the color work on the yoke as per the pattern, and kind of got down to something close to where we thought splitting for sleeves were supposed to be done. I'm doing the second size, so it's a small. It's written, I think, for a 39-inch chest. I got close to gauge. I think the gauge was supposed to be like 5.5 stitches per inch, and I got 5 and 5.375. The second swatch, I had to go down a needle size to get that. So anyway, so I did the yoke, cast on into the yoke for the small size, and then once we kind of got down to where we thought it was getting close to splitting for sleeves, she said, "Try it on, see how it fits." At this point, it was just like draping on my shoulders. I was like, I don't know how this fits. It's like, it fits like it fits like it's a, you know, cone of shame from a dog. It's just like this thing that's sitting on my shoulders. But she knows she's knit enough sweaters that she could kind of look at it and say, okay, it looks good. You need to like probably knit a little further. We still got more to go before it's going to be ready for split sleeve, but it looks pretty good. And she kept saying I would block it, and I was like, I don't understand why I would want to block it at this point. But she said, you know, stop there and let's go back and pick up the and do the neck, since that is one of your main concerns. And so rather than take the as per the pattern, I basically, you know, took a measurement of my neck. So I think the pattern for us, the small, was like a 17-inch neck, which I understand that there's some positive ease in there, but I don't know how many of you are ever in the market for men's dress shirts, but a 17-inch neck is a really big neck for like a dress shirt. Like I have a really small neck, but mine's like 14 and a quarter, 14 and a half inch, you know, neck. And obviously you might not want your sweater to be as tight as a dress shirt with a tie, but 17 was going to be way too big and really make me upset. So I sort of measured my neck and kind of went not maybe quite down to 14 and a half, but close, and then kind of figured out how, based on my gauge, how many stitches that would be, and then just decreased to that number of stitches, which seemed, you know, this is kind of where everyone has a different work style, and Valerie's been doing it so long that she's just, you know, it made total sense to her. To me, it seemed really dramatic to like go from, you know, 128 to 64. It wasn't that, but like something like that. And it's one of those things, until you've done it, at least for me, until I actually do it with my own hands. You can describe it to me as many times as you'd like, and I'll sort of nod in understanding, but there's a kind of a blankness behind behind there, because I'm not quite exact. I mean, I kind of theoretically understand it, but I'm not really going to get it until I do it. So it seemed like it was like a really dramatic decrease. But and then I did the ribbing, and I knew that I was going to want a higher collar than what the pattern called for. I also knew that I was going to want to do a folded collar, which I think is what he actually in the pattern. It is a folded collar. I'd never done one before. It's my first sweater, first crew neck. So all of this is my first time. But I kept knitting it, kept putting it back on. These are around here somewhere. I just brought them in here. These barber cords. Thank you, Magpie Fibers, for putting this in my last Fiber Society quarterly bag. But these things are fantastic. I mean, I don't love taking them on, putting them off all the time, but they really have made this trying things on and taking them off much easier than doing with waste yarn and all that stuff. So I will say, sort of sidebar, I did discover, and I don't know how many, if there are other knitting sounds that strike terror into your heart, but I discovered one with all the on and off of the putting the sweater on and off, and that is when the barber cord pops off the tip of your yarn when you're in the middle of pulling it through. There's this very subtle but very distinct sort of popping sound, and then all of a sudden you see, like, you know, 10, 20 stitches are free floating. So that's a new terrifying knitting sound, is the popping off of the cord. Anyway, so I kept trying it on, and when I felt like I had the right height of the collar, marked it, and then did double that, and then was able to fold it over. Did my first ever 3-needle bind off folding into a collar. I've done 3-needle bind offs on toys before. We were joining things together. A little fiddly, I'm not gonna lie. It's a little tricky folding it over and having 3 needles in there to do it. I did. Someone recommended, someone said like, oh, don't, because it was already pretty tight, like, because I wanted a tight collar, and they said, don't bind off too tightly, you want to keep it loose. And I didn't think I really was able to control that very well, but I found a extra stretchy 3-needle bind off online, and I can't remember whose tutorial it was, but rather than bind off by just passing the stitch over the second to last one, you knit those two together and then transfer it back to the right-handed needle. Again, this is me explaining something that unless I was doing it, I would have no idea what I was talking about. But it did make it stretchy enough. It is a tight fit over my head, but it fits beautifully around the neck. So I'm extremely happy with how that turned out. So then I then did block it, which really opened up the color work section, and then started rounding and rounding to get closer to being ready to split for sleeves. And again, Valerie saving the day had me try it on. I showed it to her, and she said, the front looks good, the back looks a little high relative to where you want it to be, so we should probably do some short row shaping there as well. It's not in the pattern at all. In the pattern, once you're done with the yoke, you're just going around and around. I had it in my mind that at some point I was going to want to do some decreases to try to bring that in, because if it was 39 inches or whatever it is straight down, that's going to feel too boxy for me, I felt, around my waist. But that was down the road. But she said we should do some short row shaping to bring that back edge down a little bit, so it was more even with where your underarms were, or my underarms were. So she had me put it on, and then just sort of pinch here, and just marked it on one side, and then figured out to make it even, from the beginning of the row, which is in the back, how many stitches to do the other side, and then did a bunch of like 8 rows of short rows, and I used German short rows on this one. On the short rows were on the back of the neck because it was on garter. I just used the West Knits shortcut rows method, but I couldn't find anything that Stephen West had done on doing short rows in stockinette, which is what this is after you get down below the color work. So I used German short rows, so I had to go through to sort of a rabbit hole on like how you resolve all of those, but it all worked out really well. I was looking it was in Patty Lyon's Knitting Bag of Tricks book, and she talks about that when you're resolving the double stitches that you created on the wrong side row, and she says on the last one it creates a gap, or it creates an actual hole in the fabric, and there's a better way to do it than just knit 2 together, which is how you generally resolve those around, or at least how I was doing it. But to me, it wasn't just the last one. It was like every single wrong side double stitch. When you came to it, once you started knitting around in the round again, it created a gap if you just did a double stitch, a knit 2 together. And so I ended up using her trick, which she was saying was only for the last one, but I used them on all of them, and it worked really well. Like I don't see anything in the fabric. Now, what I do see in the fabric, interestingly, is I can definitely see some tension differences from when I was knitting in the round versus when I was doing the short rows back and forth. You can hopefully it'll block out. But as I'm now back to knitting all in the round, I can definitely see a couple of rows in there where there's some tension issues. But split for sleeves, and that went pretty well. Somewhere in the short rowing, I lost 2 stitches, so I had to, the math just kept not working out, so I had to redo my split for sleeves several times until I was finally just decided I somehow knit 2 together or something somewhere along the way, and I needed to add 2 stitches to make the everything even out. But otherwise, it went pretty smoothly, and now I am just knitting in the round. The plan is I have this much left in this skein. And based on some discussions we've had on the Zoom call, I was encouraged to just kind of finish out whatever ball you're on, knitting down the torso, and then go and pick up the sleeves and start knitting the sleeves. So that is what I'm going to do. So once I'm, a couple more hours of knitting, and I'll be through that, and I will then start in on the sleeves. So I feel like it's in a good place to get this wrapped up in time for Rhinebeck. I'm hoping I've got a vacation coming, and it's just going to be a question of how far I get along, whether or not I take that with me on vacation. I've got a couple weeks when we get back from vacation before Rhinebeck. So if it's far enough along, I'll probably leave it and work on some other project. But if it's still got a ways to go, I'll probably just end up, even though it's going to be kind of bulky, I'll end up taking it with me, because I have at least some travel time to sit on an airplane and work on that. So that's it. Painting honeycombs, Rhinebeck sweater from Stephen West, and that is it in terms of the knitting. Obviously, on deck circle for all of the Knitalong and Crochetalong projects, which would probably be what I took with me to on vacation if I don't take the sweater. I'm not sure which one I'm going to start first. I have, sorry, I wasn't going to show this, but as I mentioned before, the Embracing Our Nature sock pattern just got released a couple days ago, and I had bought a skein of the Hope colorway from Porter Woolco when I was at Flock, but use that as for one of my giveaways. I have another skein coming, but I'm going to put that in the booty stash for prizes down the road, because one of the things that I'm trying to do is knit more from Stash, and I have some Porter Woolco that I've been sitting on that I think is absolutely lovely, and I think is going to work really well for this pattern. This is called Petal Party Remix. And it is on her sock base. Petal Party Remix. And it's a tan with sort of magenta and a little bit of gold flecks. So I think the speckling is a little more pronounced in this than it is in the Hope, which is really just those micro speckles. But I think it's going to still be cool. I think it'll be really fun to see how something a little more with a little more variegation, and it plays with those cables in the Embracing Our Nature sock. This I do not think will be a vacation knit for me, because those are toe-up socks with cables. I've done cables on socks before, but I have never done a toe-up sock before. So I just don't think that's something I want to be trying to figure out on a either moving plane or moving car, or in a hotel late at night. I think I'm going to need something a little more mindless to do. But I am excited to get started on the socks. They're absolutely beautiful, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun and learning a new skill as well. So that's it on the knitting side. In terms of acquisitions and things like that, nothing on the heart mail side this week. Heart mail being things that I get in the mail that have been donated for giveaways. But I did have some booty stash enhancements, which are things that I've bought to add to the prize pile. Oftentimes it's just something that grabs me. I don't need it for myself because I've got more than enough of most things. But I think they're cute or think they're fun, and I want to, you know, would like to get them for the prizes. A couple of things in that regard. I got this really amazing bag from, and I'm really tempted, even though I have a bazillion bags. But this is from Kelleyemcd out of Arkansas, and it's just, she does all of her selling through, I think, maybe on Facebook, but I see her on Instagram. She is Maddie from We Share Needles. It's Maddie's mom, and she makes fantastic bags and then posts them up on Instagram when they're like available, and they go pretty quickly. So when I saw this in her, like, these are ready, these are available for order, I said, can I get the rainbow one, because I think it'll be a fantastic Pride giveaway for the Pride Knitalong in June. So anytime I see like rainbowy kind of things, I always think of putting them in the booty stash for Pride giveaways. So really cute, definitely mid-size project could fit in here. I could probably get my sweater in here, but definitely a shawl or something like that. Beautiful drawstrings, beautiful little handle. So that's if you're not following her on Instagram, it's Kelley EY and then Emcd. So go check her out. She does custom things, but occasionally she'll post like, these are available, ready to ship, and you just kind of like have to DM her and say, I'll take this one, and then you go through the process. Customer service was amazing. So similarly, I mentioned Desert Panda Fiber Arts got her trailer broken into. She was sharing, or had in her booth, merchandise from Rightfully So on Instagram. I think that is also his name. And he makes bags, and also I showed last time, but he had gotten a 3D printer and is doing some 3D printed notions. He has yarn bowls and things like that. The thing that I got at Flock, and then I got another one from his website, are these little darning needle, 3D printed darning needle spiral cases, which are really fun, and they are called the Satisfying Screw, and yeah, they're great. They're just perfect for darning needles. And so I grabbed another one of those because I thought they were so much fun to throw in for a prize at some point during the Knitalong. He also makes bags, and I thought this was for a winter holiday, around the holidays, giveaway as well. So those two came in for Booty Stash Enhancement. And then at Flock, I think I mentioned this last time, I met a group of women that go by the moniker Coven Collective Fiber Arts, and there are dyers and there are bag makers and notions makers in the group, and they were all walking around Flock with these like big black hats on, and they were a ton of fun. And they had given me a little stitch marker, and on the card there was a little coupon code for 15% off. And then I saw that they were doing these sort of mystery bags, and that's one of the things I love to do to replenish the booty stash for prizes, is when dyers are doing mystery bags with, like, you know, for 40% off or whatever. I'll just grab one of those and then you know, go through it, and if there's anything I love, I'll, you know, or have a project for I can use, but otherwise I'll just put those into the treasure chest. And so they were very sweet, and they were, you got 3, but they were like, oh, we forgot how to count, so they actually sent me 4, so that is fantastic. And they are absolutely gorgeous. So I got worsted weight because I don't always have, usually when I give away yarn for the giveaways, I like to give folks a choice, and so I say, what's your, you know, what weight do you use a lot of, and then we'll go through and pick out the color. But I don't always have, I mean, I always have a lot of fingering and then some DK, but I don't always have like some of the heavier weights. So I thought it would be cool to get some worsted. These are absolutely beautiful, and they work so well together. Let me walk through the colors. One of them is a one-of-a-kind. I think it's this highly variegated one. Yes, this is a one-of-a-kind, but really, really pretty. And then these are some of the ones that you can actually get on their website as well. This is Cottage Core, sort of gold and brown and pale pink. This is Feather of a Peacock, or Feather of Peacock. Just a really great dark teal. And then this one is really pretty as well. This is called Drop of Nightshade. So go check them out. It is Coven Collective Fiber Arts. They're on Instagram at Coven Collective FA, and they are about to put together, I think, a big collection for the spooky season. The other thing I wanted to show from them is, so they sent it in this little bag, which is just, it feels like a pillowcase, kind of like that cotton kind of material. And in the thing, there was a little tag that had a QR code that said "Scan to find out about this bag." So as I said, they are bag makers and notion makers and things like that. So the sewists in the group take their scrap material and make these little fabric bags that then they put all of the yarn in when they ship. So unlike a lot of folks don't want to send just yarn in the mail in case it got damaged, so they'll put them in like plastic bags or whatever. But they make these fabric bags to sort of cut down on their waste footprint, and then you can reuse them as, they said something like a sleeping bag for a voodoo doll, or you can store your shoes when you travel, or things like that, or you can actually send it back to them. If you send it back to them, they will give you a coupon for a discount off of your next purchase. I thought it was a really awesome idea. A beautiful yarn, and thank you for the extra skein, Coven Collective. I appreciate that, and these are going to be available for some lucky winner down the road in a Knitalong giveaway. So those were all of the booty stash enhancements for the week, or for this last couple weeks. In terms of things for me, I got my yarn for the Knitalong, so I have my yarn from Up North Yarn, Speckled Jewels, Morning Glories. I also got my set to make the Cerulean Orchid Rainbow Eucalyptus hat and mitt. These are from Teal Torch Knits. I should mention, although the pre-order window are closed for both of these, as well as for everything except the Porter Woolco sock yarn. I think everyone else has closed the pre-order windows. But both Monica at Up North Yarn and Christina at Teal Torch Knit have put some additional skeins up on their website. So if you missed the pre-order, I think Teal Torch Knits, I think, is doing like a die to order through the end of the month. So you might not get it in time for cast on, but you will be able to get the yarn. And Monica has a handful of these left on her website as well. So if you missed out and you're thinking about participating in the accessories drive for Knit the Rainbow and want to get the double bonus for using yarn from the Knitalong Crochetalong, this will help me for fundraising, and then you will have a better chance at winning prizes in that giveaway. So go check those out, Up North Yarn and Teal Torch Knits. I don't know about Jada Wu Designs on the Save to Bun hat kits. I know the pre-order window closed. I don't know if she has any that she pre-dyed available as well, but check it out if you missed that as well. The only other thing yarn-wise that came in the mail, I got my August Lola Bean Yarn Co. Black Label, which was inspired by Prince. It's called Prince the Revolution, the Beautiful Ones. Every so often, when the mood inspiration hits, Adela dyes up some special Black Label yarn for inspired by music. This was on a new base for me from her, which is a silk merino, 7030 superwash merino silk base. I got 2 skeins of it. Didn't realize I'd ordered 2 skeins and ordered 2 more, so I ended up getting 4. But 2 of them went to another home as part of a de-stash, off the books de-stash for good. Someone reached out and said, if you don't want those extra 2 skeins, I'll take them. And I originally thought maybe I started thinking about projects I might do, and then I sort of had a bit of stash anxiety over the weekend, and I was like, you know what, I'll keep 2. You can have the other 2. So they're going to another home. And then the last acquisition is not yarn related, but I'm very, very excited. I had my eye on one of these since Stitches West last year, I think it was, or Stitches West SoCal maybe, where I saw the booth from Thread and Maple, and they make these absolutely fabulous leather needle organizer sets. They are an investment, and at that time when I saw them, I was sort of rethinking my whole needle situation. Wasn't sure what of the set. It's a binder that then you buy individual pages for that have slots for straights, and they make them for individual specific makers. So there's Chalgu ones, there's Knitpicks ones, there's different brands of ones. But at the time when I first saw them, I was like, oh wow, that is absolutely beautiful. But I was like, I don't know what my needle situation is going to be. I want to reorganize things, and I didn't want to make an investment and then end up with pages that I wasn't going to use, because you buy the pages separately. You buy the binder and then you buy the pages separately. Over the past several months, I've gone through the needles and kind of figure out where I'm going. Over the years, I've collected, as I know many of us have, many needles, fixed, interchangeables. We joke on the Zoom, my sister still has them. I started, when I first started knitting, I think they were the first interchangeable needle sets that you could buy were called Denise, and they were these almost like barber cord tubes that you then stuck the end of the needles in. There was a little locking mechanism, but I'm sorry, Denise, if you're still out there. And at the time, they were all we had, but they're terrible. My sister still uses them and is fond of them, but as soon as I could upgrade to something else, I did. But I have over time started with Knitpicks, and then someone recommended Addies, and so I bought the Addie Clicks because I thought they, I'd heard they stayed connected better, and then people had talked about Chalgu, so I got some Chalgus. And so I've ended up with like multiple sets of things, and now I've kind of figured out what I'm going to be destashing. The Addies I have, and everything was kind of in different disparate organizational places, and so I think this is going to allow me to, what I'm going to keep, put in this one place, clear out some of the extraneous clutter. So as I mentioned, it is an investment. The Thread and Maple once a year does a seconds sale, and so if you were on your mailing list, you got a 24-hour jumpstart window, because the binders in particular sell out relatively quickly when they have the second sale, because they're like 40% off. I don't know if you can even see, but this like this page has like scuffs here, and that's what's second. On the binder, it was something about like the lining of the binder is not trimmed as nicely as it should be, but for 40% off, it can have a lot wrong with it unless it's like and they're all functional. It's just it's all cosmetic stuff. And so I was able to grab one for a big discount, and I'm really looking forward to putting that to use. I will report back once. I mean, it literally just came in the mail this afternoon, and I just put the little sleeves in. I only got a couple of them. I probably could use a couple more. I don't know if I'm going to get everything in there, but it'll hold. I got the jumbo one. It'll hold up to 7. I think I have 3. So I've got some room for expansion. And once I kind of play around with it and see how it works, I'll report back to see how I like it. So that was my big kind of happy birthday to me. Maybe also partly Merry Christmas to me. Acquisition for the over the last couple weeks. So. In terms of Craftivism this week, obviously the big thing is the Knit the Rainbow accessories drive. Please tune in next episode to listen to my conversation with Austin from Knit the Rainbow to hear more about this fantastic organization and their plans for the future and how you can get more involved with what they're doing. The other thing I wanted to mention, there were several dyers over the last couple of weeks who have done either special colorways or special sales to raise money for different organizations helping out in Maui in the aftermath of that incredibly devastating fire through Lahaina. Most of those have sort of closed the window on their on their special skeins and things they were running before I had a chance to mention them here. But I did want to mention through the end of August, Yuriko Oki, who is at yuriko.oki on Instagram, she is donating 30% of all of the sales from her online website. She's a yarn dyer to help provide relief for the Maui fire victims. So go check out her website. She has some beautiful yarn up there, and 30% of the sales through the end of the month. So you've still got a few more days to get in on that. She is going to donate to the victims of the fires in Maui. So that is it for Craftivism this week. And I hope that you have a fantastic end of August. I cannot believe that Labor Day is just about upon us. I hope you're gearing up and ready for the kickoff for the Knitalongs and Crochetalongs. I'm really excited about all the projects. Please do join us on Tuesday evenings if you can on our Zoom call. It's run by Valerie of Creations by Valerie and A Visit with Nana and Papa here. The link to the sorry about that. The link to the Zoom is in the show notes below. It runs, I don't know, about an hour and a half or so until I have to head out for dinner, and it's later on the East Coast. It starts at 7 p.m. East Coast time, 4 p.m. Pacific, and it's just a really fun group of people. Occasionally, we have some of the dyers and designers who are involved in the Knitalong and Crochetalong pop in and just sort of talk about what they're working on. But even if you're not participating in the specific Knitalong Crochetalong, we'd love to see you there. So thanks again for taking some time out of your week to spend it with me. If you've enjoyed this time, I would appreciate it if you could give me a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button. It helps with the algorithm and helps me continue to grow this community. Until I see you again in 2 weeks, have a great time knitting. Bye.